Hello, it's gonna rain here, and I am going to have a little bit of a rant on my hands today. So this has been kind of a topic that has always kind of bugged me about society as a whole, and it's that many people blame video games such as Call of Duty and Battlefield and games such as that for violence in real life. Example is the Newtown shooting. Big thing is people were like, oh, did this guy play video games? And by chance he did. But I kind of want to give my rant and kind of my opinion on what I think about this. But before that, I just want to say what the gameplay is. It's a laser gameplay, my best laser gameplay ever, but I freaking love this thing in Advanced Warfare, so I hope you guys enjoy the eye candy, but let's get right into it. So to start, I honestly don't think there should be really any correlation between video games and learning how to fire a gun. Now, okay, maybe you can learn a few things, like, oh, you have to control recoil, stuff like that. But one thing I like saying is, you can play Call of Duty and get better and learn how to fire a gun in real life. It's a lot like you can't play NBA 2K or MLB The Show and just become a professional baseball player or basketball player. It's the same concept. Is we're in this virtual simulation where we're using a controller and we don't feel anything. We don't feel emotions because we all know it's fake. When we're playing these games, we're not thinking of killing these people in real life. We're thinking of it's a game. It's the same thing as paintball. Paintball, I think, is worse of a culprit, or airsoft. I think you should be looking at airsoft first, because one, you're actually firing pellets at people, which can harm them. So when it comes down to it, I think that video games should be on the bottom of that list. I think paintball and airsoft, and I'd say even a few sports should be before that. I think that wrestling, and I'm not just soloing it out because I still don't believe it has anything to do with, but if you're going to look at anything as being possibly responsible for these murders or these shootings that everyone says, oh, it has something to do with video games, I completely disagree, and I laugh in their face because I honestly think it's pathetic. I think that they're just searching for an excuse of why it happened. They're looking for answers, and you know, I get it. It's a desperate time. You're looking for answers. You want to know the facts so you know how to charge these people, but I can't stand back and see how video games could turn someone into a monster and make him go shoot up a school or something like that. And it's one of those things. So me and a group of friends were talking a few months back, and I was really fired up about the subject. And a point that I want to bring up is, in video games, I can watch gore, I can see it, I can look at it, and I won't scream. Like, I'm not squeamish when it comes to that stuff in video games, but in real life I'm squeamish to it. I hate it because I know that someone who can feel it. I know it's not a computer AI or just a computer a computed player. It's someone real going through real pain, and a family's affected by that. And it's one of those things where I know when I'm playing Call of Duty or Battlefield or Counter-Strike that the people I'm shooting at, they're not real people. They don't have families. I'm not actually ending their life. I'm just sending them to the respawn screen. So it's frustrating when they think, oh, I mean, these people are obviously playing these video games that you kill people in it. Okay, I get how some people don't like that. I actually totally understand how some people don't like that. It's probably not the best thing for the human brain. But you also have to think that 1,000 years ago, kids were taught how to kill at a very young age, and yes, it's how you survive. But one thing is, in history, we learn about how beheadings were often publicized, where you could just go to your town square and watch someone get their head cut off. You don't see that nowadays. You don't see any of that. You don't see people getting quartered or boiled alive in public. That just doesn't happen anymore. It's against society. And another example that I want to bring up is, recently I watched the movie Fury, and in the movie Fury, which has Brad Pitt in it, is about a tank squad. It's just one tank that they follow around some battles in World War II as they're in Germany. If you've seen it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about through this video. But that that war movie's incredibly graphic. I actually watched it with my mom. Incredibly awkward because I think she was very concerned that I wasn't really like I could watch it without really showing any signs of like disgust. Yeah, I was kind of grossed out by it, but I know it's acting. I know it's not real. So it adds a difference when I know that it's not real. It's not a person who's actually suffering. But one example in that movie that it's very gory, and there's just one scene where they're it's not really a spoiler, it's not too important to the whole plot, but they're going down this road in a German kid fires a rocket at one of the tanks in the squadron, and it lights on fire, and you see one of the guys jump out. He's completely engulfed in flames, and to end his misery he pulls out a pistol and shoots himself in the head. And to me, that, like, even though, as I say, it doesn't affect me as a movie, that did kind of, like, I was still like, whoa, when I saw that. Because it's movies are a little bit different, especially if they're based on true events, because that actually happened. That happened to someone. And that, I'm sensitive to that. But I can watch someone, I struggle with someone being beheaded in video games too, but I can deal with it, because once again, it's not someone real. That guy doesn't have an actual family, so I can watch it and I can live with it. But that movie is just a good example that war is hell, and I think everyone in the gaming community, everyone who plays Call of Duty knows that. Anyone who's smart knows that war is hell, and I would never want to send someone off to war. And sometimes I do think that it is a little bit horrible that we play these games, but it's entertainment, and there have been worse things in the past. I think that games usually have a pretty good standard of not making it too gory. There are specific games such as Gears of War, and then World at War, which was the fifth Call of Duty, was pretty gory, but they usually have a good standard of not making it ridiculous. And I struggle to see how someone playing Call of Duty would be like, oh, I know how to use a gun, and how about I just go kill someone? Like, I know how to use a gun, I'll just go join the military. That's not how it works. I'm gonna bring back that basketball idea where just because you play NBA 2K does not mean you're gonna be a professional basketball player. It's the same concept with playing Call of Duty. You're not gonna know how to fire a gun because you play Call of Duty. So I think that when people say that video games make violence seem normal, which I honestly kind of have to agree with. I think that, and I'm subject to this, I feel that violence are a little bit desensitized, at least in my generation. I'm more desensitized to violence, and as much as I hate that, you have to kind of look at media in entertainment. You have to say most top shows are about killing, or about murder, like cop shows. Or if you watch the news, you'll hear about 7 murders in one day, and then you'll hear about that one guy who donated $5,000. You don't hear enough positive stuff in the world. I think it's because people, as they care about the positive stuff, but not as much. So when it comes to the Newtown shootings, I think that guy was just mentally screwed up. He was sick, and it's hard to fathom that happened. I remember coming home that day and finding out, because my mom was in tears, and she just texted me in the middle of the day saying I love you, which was I felt was bizarre. I actually want to do a follow-up video about my experiences with some of that stuff, because I like expressing it, because I think it just would be nice to talk about it. But I just think that video games do not desensitize, because when I put a bullet in someone's head in a game, doesn't mean I'm gonna want to do that in real life. I honestly could not deal with that. I don't have the will to kill someone like that, because especially if you have someone in your life, and I'm gonna use this example, not trying to show off or anything, but my girlfriend. Ever since I've started dating her, I've been almost more sensitive to violence, because when I hear about these things, all I can picture is what happens if that happened to her. What happens if I found out that something like this happened to her? What happens if she was in the Boston bombings, or she was a teacher in the school, and it scares me. It kind of touches me somewhere where I am sensitive to it at that point. And I think a lot of you might know what I'm talking about, but just think of it in terms of someone you truly love is in that situation where they're impacted by it, and I guess you're looking for answers and you're desperate, but I just really don't think that you can really relate video games and violence. So that's kind of my rant. Sorry if it was long. I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay at least, but I'm gonna sign out. I'm gonna sign out, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. By the way, if you like this video,